Hello students, how are you doing? So hope you are great. I am also fine and sound, and once again I am very glad to come before you through these e-learning classes to continue our first unit reading C lesson, the new blue dress. So in our previous video we have already began this lesson and I have told half of the lesson. I hope you have understood that lesson. And let me remind you the key points in the previous video. So what happened when spring season came to the city of Cleveland? So I already told that Cleveland was one of the major cities in the US states of Ohio, right? So when spring entered, actually the people should be able to see much changes. The environment will have greenery. All trees look green and environment will be so good during spring season, but in Gates Avenue there are no such changes. People were unable to see any changes. But all other cities, all other streets have been changed, have been transformed into good weather, good environment, but there are no changes that are worth notice in which street? In Gates Avenue. And after that we have discussed that the Gates Avenue people are very poor people. They even did not paint their houses for too long time. But the people who live nearby the Gates Avenue, they were making gardens and they were painting their walls. But the people who live in the Gates Avenue are very poor people. So as they were poor people, they were unable to do anything. And even moreover, we have seen that Gates Avenue was a dirty, unclean, untidy and ugly street. So there are much dirt wherever you go in that street. And in addition to that, there was a railway track, railroad at the end of the Gates Avenue. And you know what happens as soon as the train comes or a train passes through Gates Avenue, the travelers, the passengers from inside the train used to throw all the dust and garbage through the windows, and they will throw the garbage into which street? Gates Avenue. So this was also one of the reasons why Gates Avenue looks dirtier and untidy. Okay, so one of the reasons they used to throw, all the travelers, when the train passes through the Gates Avenue, they will throw the garbage and dumping into these streets. So this was one of the reasons for the Gates Avenue to look dirty, unclean, untidy and ugly. And after that we have seen that there was a school near the Gates Avenue, and many children will come to the school, even children from Gates Avenue and children from other than Gates Avenue, those who live in other streets than Gates Avenue. So everybody will attend the same school, and you know what happens in the school? Every child is looking beautiful, is looking awesome, they are fine, their appearance is fine, their facial expressions are fine, they are looking good, but except one girl from Gates Avenue was looking dirty. And even I told that she was wearing same dress from many months. Even the season before spring is winter. So all the winter she had worn a dress, and she continued to wear the same dress even in the spring season also. It means almost from 6 months she was wearing the same dress, and with the same dress she came to school. And when her teacher saw her, she felt so disappointed. When all the children were looking good, handsome and beautiful, this little girl was looking odd among all the children. So she was looking dirty, her hair was untidy and her face was dirty. See, when teacher observed, she approached the student and asked her to wash her face when coming to school the next day. So she did the same. The student washed her face and she came to school, and that day the student's face was very tidier, very clean, and her hair was also very tidy. And after the next day, the teacher made another request. Ask your mother to wash your dress, because you are wearing same dress for 6 months. So please plead your mother to wash your dress. So she made another request, and the teacher was so hopeful that the child's mother would wash her clothes, but there was no change in her dress. See, when the girl came to school the next day, she continued to wear the same dress, and when teacher saw the girl in the same dress the next day, she thought in her mind that the child's parents were not showing any interest towards her, even in washing her dress. So after finding the truth that her parents were not having any interest or to take care of the child, the teacher herself bought a new blue dress, and that was the title of our lesson. See, as the parents were not showing any interest, they were not ready to look after their own baby, their own daughter, who cared for the child, no? Who cared for the student? The teacher cared for the student. She herself bought a new dress, purchased a new dress from the shop, and she presented that dress to the little girl. You can see that in the picture in your lesson. See what's happening in the picture. The teacher is presenting the girl with a new blue dress, and the student, the child, was taking the gift from the teacher very curiously and interestingly. So after taking the gift from the teacher, she immediately went back to her home. So as soon as she received the gift from the teacher, she received with gratitude and took that, and she started going to her home. And you know what happened? Let us move on to the third page of the lesson. The next morning, she came to school in the new blue dress, and she was clean and tidy. She told her teacher, "My mother could not believe her eyes when she saw me this morning in my new dress. My father was not at home. He will see me at supper tonight." She was full of excitement. So this was the first passage in lesson third page. See what happened after receiving the gift. She went to home. She took that new blue dress to her home, and next day she took a fresh bath and she changed her dress. She wore the new blue dress that was given to her by her student. And when the little girl's mother looked at her, she could not believe her eyes. So she felt like, "Oh my God, are you my kid? You are very beautiful. You are very pretty. You are looking good, neat and clean. I can't believe my eyes, my dear child." So she told that to her little girl. And that little girl was explaining her mother's feelings, how her mother felt when she looked at her in her new blue dress. So who was explaining? The little girl was explaining to the teacher. What was she explaining? Her mother's feeling when she looked at the little girl in her new blue dress. So how did the child's mother feel when she looked at her in her new blue dress? She felt very happy, absolutely fantastic, and she didn't even believe her own eyes that the girl was none other than her own daughter. So my mother could not believe my eyes when she looked at me in my new blue dress. And even my father was not there at home. If he had seen me in my new blue dress, probably, definitely, he might have felt very happy as my mother. So she was telling very happily this information to her teacher. So she was full of excitement. Excitement means very happy. She was so delightful. Delight means very happy, to feel absolutely fantastic. Right? So shall we move on to the next page? Next paragraph. When her father saw her in her blue dress, he was amazed to find that he had a very pretty little girl. When the family ate supper, he was even more amazed to see a cloth on the kitchen table. The family had never used a tablecloth before. And we are going to begin to be tidier here. His wife said, "I am ashamed to be dirty when our daughter is so clean." So the main message in the paragraph is, in the morning before she came to school, the little girl's mother looked at her and she was filled with wonder and amazement. So during night, at that time in the morning before she came to school, her father was not there. So she came to school. School was over, and after the school she returned back to her home. And during the night meals, so supper, the word supper means night meals. I am writing the meaning of the word here. Supper means the third meal of a day, or night meal, or you can say dinner simply. So for dinner, her father came to her home and he observed that his daughter was wearing a new blue dress. And when he observed that he noticed that he had a beautiful, a pretty little girl. These many days he couldn't notice, he couldn't observe that his daughter was a good, neat, tidier girl. He couldn't notice. Why couldn't he notice? Because she looks always dirty, ugly, untidy and unclean. She doesn't have new clothes to wear and she never used to wash her face. So these are the reasons why her father was unable to notice that he had a beautiful, pretty daughter. But when his daughter began to wash her face, and when his daughter wore new dress, he easily could notice that he had a beautiful and prettiest daughter. And when the family ate supper, family means all three members together, the little girl, mother and father, they ate their dinner, and when the dinner was finished, see, they used to eat on the dining table, right? You know the dining table, because in many homes dining table will be there, and it is a table used to put the plates and to take our lunch or any meal of the day, even dinner. So when the family finished the dinner, after the dinner, the girl and even her mother began to clean the table with a cloth. Actually, everybody will do that, but the people in Gates Avenue will never clean the table. They will just come to the table, they will eat the meals and they will go away. Everybody in the house will do the same. They do not have that habit of cleaning the table after eating. See, many splashes will be there and the dirtiest things will be there. The garbage, the rubbish will be there on the table after eating. But they won't clean the dust, that dirt which was lying on the table. They used to eat and they will go away like that. But now what happened that night, on the day in which the little girl wore a new blue dress, that day night there was a tablecloth on the dining table. Who noticed that? Her father. So he noticed two things in total that night. The first thing was, he noticed that he had a beautiful daughter, pretty daughter. Why was he able to notice that? Because his daughter was wearing a new dress. So these many days she did not wear, so he was unable to notice. Now she washed her face and she wore a new blue dress, so he was able to notice that. So this was the first thing. And what was the second thing that he noticed? In the same night, he noticed that there was a cleaning cloth which will be used to clean the table. So these many days they never used the tablecloth. So he was amazed to see that cloth which is in the second line of the second paragraph. See, he was even more surprised to see a cloth on the dining table. Their family, the little girl's family, never used a cloth or a napkin or a towel to clean the dining table or to clean the place where they have taken food. See, and her mother started talking with her father. Now husband and wife. Wife is talking with her husband. What was she talking? Dear husband, we are going to be tidier from now onwards. So the word here means from now. So here doesn't refer to a place here. Here means from now or right away or henceforth. We are going to be tidier. So what is the meaning of the word tidier? To be clean, to be neat and clean. So we are going to be neat and clean from today onwards, or from now onwards. We have to take care of the cleanliness. We have to prefer, we have to show interest in making our house neat, in making our surroundings neat, in making our own bodies neat. So we should be clean, we should look beautiful and handsome. Our home and our faces should be pretty. See our daughter, how is she? She was so beautiful, she was so tidier. Even though she was a little girl, a small girl, she wants to be neat, she wants to be beautiful. But being parents, we are not showing interest to be looked beautiful and clean. So as our daughter was showing much care in her, as she was so clean, why should we be dirty? Why should we be untidy? So we should also prefer to be neat and clean like our daughter. So though she is a younger girl or a little girl, she was so clean, but being elder people, being grown-ups, we are not clean, we are not tidy. So the little girl's mother told to her father that she was so ashamed to be dirty when their daughter was so clean and tidy. See, really, this is a shameful act for her parents, because their daughter, she was a very little girl, but she was clean and dirty, but her parents were not clean. They were very ugly, untidy, and unclean. So that makes her to feel guilty. So the word ashamed means to feel guilty. The word ashamed means to feel guilty. So who is feeling guilty here? The little girl's mother is feeling ashamed, because even though they are parents, they are not clean. They did not become clean themselves, and they did not make their daughter to be clean and pretty good. So that made her to feel guilty, to be ashamed, because she compared herself with her daughter. How was the daughter? She was so clean, pretty good. And how were the parents? They were dirty and clean. So as soon as she compared them with their daughter, she felt very ashamed. Okay, she felt very guilty. Let us move on to the next paragraph. After supper, the mother began to wash the kitchen floor. Her husband watched silently for several moments. Then he went outside and began to repair the fence. And the next evening, with the family's help, he began to make a garden. So here, their attitudes, their thinking style have been completely changed here. See, the change began with the little girl. Initially, she was dirty, untidy, unclean, ugly, but now she became tidy, clean, beautiful, and good. Right? So, first, the little girl changed. Next, who changed after seeing the little girl? Her mother changed. What was she doing now? After supper, after the night meal. It means after finishing the dinner, the little girl's mother began to wash the kitchen floor, which she has never done in her life. They used to cook, or the mother used to cook in the kitchen, and they will eat on the dining table, kitchen table, but they never cleaned that in their life earlier. So that was the first day they cleaned the kitchen table and kitchen floor. And now who was observing that work carefully? When mother was cleaning the floor, her father, her husband was watching carefully. He was observing for several times. For much time he was observing, and he realized that he should also do something. He should also do something to be neat and clean. He wants to make his house clean, and he wants to make himself tidier after seeing the little girl, after seeing his daughter, and after seeing his wife. See, his wife never used to clean the floor, but she started cleaning the floor. And as soon as he saw his wife cleaning the floor, he also decided to do something to look their home neat and tidy. So what did she do? After seeing his wife cleaning the floor, he realized, he repented, and he went outside. He started to work. And which work was started by him? Which work did he do on the day? So he went outside and he started repairing the fence. Fence means a protection wall or a compound wall. A protective wall or compound. So they have a compound. They constructed a compound around their house some years ago, and it has been destroyed almost. Now he started to reconstruct the fence. He started to reconstruct the compound wall again. These many days he did not care. Even though he knew that the compound wall has been destroyed, has been destructed, he never cared for that. Many times while going out of the home, he saw that their house compound wall is not good. It was at its bad position, but he never cared. But on that day, he went outside and he started repairing. He started reconstructing the fence. He was trying to fix the problem in the compound wall. So there was a change in his attitude. Now he was preferring to be clean and tidier. Now my question, why? Again, answer is little girl. See, when she became clean and dirty, her mother felt ashamed and she wants to be neat and clean. And when both of them, I mean his wife and his daughter, were clean and tidy, he also repented and realized the necessity to be clean and tidy. So he went out and he started repairing the fence, the compound wall. And after repairing the compound wall, the next day evening, what did they do? The entire family, 3 members, were doing a nice work. What was that? They started to make a garden. See, in front of their house, there was nothing. It was an empty place these many days. But after the little girl became clean and tidier, they started to create a garden in front of their house. They planted many trees and they made their surroundings, their environment beautiful by planting the trees. So now we can see many changes that took place in the little girl's house. Now my question, what is the starting point for all these changes in the little girl's home? See, the little daughter or the little girl is the starting point, because when she became clean and tidier, her parents were motivated after seeing her. And there is one more starting point, the teacher is the starting point, because how did the little girl become neat and tidy, neat and clean? Because of the dress given to her by her teacher. If she had not given the dress, then the little girl would have not become so clean and tidier, and thus her parents would also not become clean and tidier. So the starting point is the teacher giving a new dress to the little girl, and another starting point, the little girl began to be clean and tidier, to look beautiful and clean. Okay, next let us move on to the next passage. During the following week, the man in the next house watched his neighbor. Who is his neighbor? None other than little girl's father. See, now all the people in the Gates Avenue, or simply the neighbors of this little girl's family, were observing. Many changes have been taken place in their house. See, they started to clean the floor. They created a garden in front of their house. Now they painted their house. See, by these changes, their premises, their surroundings, their home became very pretty, good and beautiful. Their premises, their house, their garden is looking beautiful. And when the neighbors saw that, they also started to make their own homes beautiful. See, they were motivated by seeing the little girl's family. These many days, nobody cared for cleanliness. Nobody cared to beautify the environment in Gates Avenue. But the change started from the little girl. She became neat and tidier and clean. And after that, her mother became clean and neat. After that, her father became clean and neat. And now all these 3 members together made their home neat. They made their premises, their compound very neatly. And when their house became neat, who observed that? The man who was staying next to little girl's house watched that carefully, and he felt that he should also make his home like the little girl's home. See what happened? The man who was living in next to the little girl's house watched little girl's father. What was he doing? He was repairing the fence and he was making the garden, the little girl's father. And when the neighbor watched that, see what happened? By the end of that week, the man who watched the little girl's family began to paint his house for the first time in 10 years. It means before 10 years their houses have been painted, and since 10 years they didn't paint their houses. Now they started again. So what happened now? Everybody in the Gates, even the little girl's father, began to paint their house for the first time in 10 years. And a few days later, the young minister of a church near Gates Avenue, the young minister means a political leader who has the power to change anything. So he passed through Gates Avenue. He went in that street through Gates Avenue, and when the minister passed through that street in his car, he observed that many people were trying hard to make their homes neat, to make their streets neat. So they were striving hard to make everything beautiful, to make their surroundings, to make their environment beautiful. So who observed their hard work now? A minister who was traveling in his car through Gates Avenue observed the hard work that has been doing by the people of Gates Avenue. And when the old minister observed the hard work, they are striving hard to make their premises, their homes, their streets neat, he decided to help them from the side of government. So he decided to help from government side. See, what was he doing? The two men were working. Who observed that? Who are the two men first? One man is none other than the little girl's father, and the other man was a neighbor of little girl's family. It means the man who is living next to little girl's house. So these two men were working hardly, and when young minister observed that, he decided to help the Gates Avenue. In the initial part of the lesson, I have told you clearly that they did not have running water, tap water facility. They did not have pavements on either side of the roads, footpaths, and they even did not have street lights. See, basic fundamental necessities, requirements have not been given to that street, to the people of Gates Avenue. And when the young minister realized that, what did the young minister realize? No facilities were there for the people of Gates Avenue. So he started helping the people in the Gates Avenue. Who started helping? The young minister. See what happened when he passed these two houses and he saw two young men working. For the first time he noticed, the young minister noticed that there was no pavement in Gates Avenue, and no street lights, and no running water facility, which we have already discussed. People who are trying to work hard, people who are trying so hard to make decent homes. Decent means good looking. So they were trying to make decent homes, good looking. These many days their houses were the ugliest houses in the city of Cleveland. But now they are striving hard, they are working hard to build a decent homes. It means they are not building a new houses, they are not constructing the brand new houses, they are just altering their houses into a new one. They have old houses, but now they started painting. They started to create, to make gardens in front of them. So they started to beautify everything. They are cleaning the environment. They are cleaning their house, their compound walls, their gardens, their streets. And when young minister observed the hard work of these two persons, the hard work of little girl's father and the hard work of the little girl's neighbor, he decided to help. In which form? By providing all the basic facilities, water facilities, street lights, pavements. So these facilities have been provided to the people of Gates Avenue by the young minister. So he talked to the officials, he talked with the government, and he was so successful in giving these facilities to the people of Gates Avenue. See, at the end of third paragraph, what was there? The people who are trying to so hard to make decent homes, they are trying to make their homes good looking. It should be neat. That is the only intention behind the people hard work, right? So after observing that, the minister thought that they deserve help. They are eligible to get help from the government, the minister thought. And what did he do? He asked some important citizens in the city. In which city? Cleveland. He asked some rich people, some business personalities, some celebrities to help the people in the Gates Avenue. As they are very people, the young minister requested rich people to help the poor people who are residing in the Gates Avenue. And you know what happened in a few months? After a few months, because of the young minister, there was a pavement on the Gates Avenue. It has been constructed, and there were street lights in every corner, in every streets of the Gates Avenue. And the houses had running water. Each and every water got a tap water facility. Now when they turn on the tap, water is running down. And what happened 6 months after the little girl got her new blue dress? It's been 6 months since the teacher gave the little girl a new blue dress. So within these 6 months, Gates Avenue had become one of the tidiest streets where respectable citizens live. So the Gates Avenue became home for the people who have dignity. It became home for respectable and honorable citizens. Many high-profile personalities were taking flats, taking homes in the Gates Avenue. See, once it was the dirtiest, ugliest, untidy street, and the same street within the span of 6 months became the clean and neat and tidy street. Once upon a time, only poor people used to live in the, not once upon a time, just before 6 months. It is an abode for poor people, the people who had very little money. The poverty-stricken people used to live in the Gates Avenue, but it became an abode. It became home for highly respectable citizens, honorable citizens, and citizens with dignity. So they started living in Gates Avenue. So it became very popular and famous. Now, when other people who live in different places in the Ohio state, they listened the inspiration story of Gates Avenue. See, once it was ugly, but it became beautiful. Once it was untidy, it became tidy. Once it was unclean, but it became clean and neat. When they heard the transformation story of Gates Avenue, the people who live in other cities also started to change their places, started to reconstruct their streets, started to clean their environment. So they took Gates Avenue story as an inspiration. So when they heard the story of Gates Avenue, the other people who live in other places began cleanup campaigns. Cleanup campaign means a program. So campaign means a program. Program. Which program? A program to create awareness among the people to clean their premises, to clean their surroundings. So like a perfect example to understand this cleanup campaign is a program like Swachh Bharat. So when people from other places heard the story of, inspirational story of Gates Avenue, they started to conduct programs like Swachh Bharat. See, now Gates Avenue became inspiration to thousands of people. For many places it became inspiration, and if somebody sees a dirty place, they are instructed to become neat like the people of Gates Avenue. So they became motivational source, inspirational source for all the other people who live in that city. So since 1913, more than 7,000 towns and cities have organized these programs. Which programs? Cleanup campaigns like Swachh Bharat. How many towns and cities? More than 7,000 towns and cities conducted, organized, arranged these Swachh Bharat programs, cleanup campaigning, and they started repairing their homes. It means if some problem arises, they decided to fix the problem. They are repairing homes and making better lives. See, in these many days, their lives were under poverty. Now they started to live better. They are trying themselves to make their life better for the people who live in them. It means in that city. So they are trying hard to become neat and clean, and they even living a respectable life, a life with dignity. So who knows what will happen? The last line of the lesson. Who knows what will happen when teacher gives the little girl a new blue dress? Did you expect that this much of big transformation will occur in Gates Avenue? So nobody thought. Even the teacher who gave new blue dress to that little girl couldn't believe that these transformations could have taken place in the Gates Avenue. See, she has done a very small thing. She might have spent 300 or 500 rupees to buy a new blue dress, but that small help by the teacher brought the total change in Gates Avenue. And not only Gates Avenue, the places, the people, whoever heard the Gates Avenue, they also started making their homes, their streets clean. So in this way, Gates Avenue became clean and tidy, and other places, most of the places, nearly 7,000 towns and cities worked hard to make their streets, homes clean, to look good and pretty. See, the starting point for all these transformations, these changes are little girl and new teacher as well. So this was the inspirational story of this lesson. And what was the message that we should learn from this lesson? We should always try to look good. We should be clean, tidy and pretty, right? So while coming to school, we should be good looking. Our facial expressions should be good, right? So this was the main message that we can get from this lesson, and we should always strive hard to clean our school, to clean our home, to clean our streets, to clean our premises, because it is not someone else's responsibility, it is the responsibility of me and you. So nobody will come and clean our school or our houses or our streets. It is everyone's responsibility. Being a responsible citizen, it is our responsibility to participate in the cleanup campaigns like Swachh Bharat. So hope you start cleaning your home, your premises from today onwards. Okay, so let us meet in the next class. Until then, just do the given home tasks to you without any delay. Let us meet in the next video.